my name is Catherine. Welcome to Spirited Arts Cookies and Canvas. We are going to work on this little sunshine with the caterpillar and the flower first. And then once this video is done, there'll be a second video that'll be the butterflies on the milkweed. And then you also have your cookies to paint. All right, let's get started. If you haven't put your brushes in the water, go ahead and soften them up. I'm going to take the big brush for mixing and I'm going to get the water out on the side of my cup and maybe tap it on my napkin. And I'm going to start with the large area, which is blue. So I'm going to take a scoop of blue and about 1/4 to 1/2 scoop of white, not too much white. Put it right on top of your blue and you can mix it by pushing the paint to the center. You can swirl it around a little bit, but try to keep that pile kind of tight so that you have a nice pile of paint to use. Make sure you get that paint that's on the side of your brush. And then let's go ahead. If you want to, you can use your little brush to outline. I kind of used an old canvas here that had another stencil on it, so it might be a little hard to see. But once I get this blue on, all those other lines will disappear. So I'm gonna go around the sun. Again, you might want to do this with your little brush first. Then you can fill in the edges. A little more paint. Take your time on this. I have to slow myself down. This one is meant to actually be a time so that you paint along with me, not so that you stop and start. But if I am going too fast for you, feel free to stop this and then start it again when you're ready to. All right, so we got the blue. There, I'm gonna go around the flower. Right down in here, it's a pretty small space. I'm gonna come back with my little brush to get around the leaves. Just taking that off to the side. If you see any brush strokes and you don't like that in your sky, what you want to do is just make, once the paint is on there, you can make long strokes from, let's say, the side of the sun all the way off to the edge, and that way you won't see any brush strokes in there. When you get to the caterpillar, I would probably just go ahead and paint over the antenna. I think it's going to be very difficult to go around those antennae. So summertime. Pretty much everyone should be finished school by now, right? By the way, these little 8x10 canvases, they're meant to be part of our calendar camp. This one was June, actually in years past, and we developed a whole new set of them for this year. And there's one for each month of the year. So that calendar camp's on our calendar. And you get a little black easel to put these on so you can display them and change them out every month. Alright, I am going to put my big brush in the water and I'm going to finish this out with my little brush because there are some spaces that I want to get in here. Also with my easel, it's a little hard to get under the bottom there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just outline the caterpillar touches the bottom, like there might be a little corner of blue over there, or you can just make his body touch the very bottom of the canvas, that's fine. I need a little more paint and then we should be good. We're gonna leave this blue paint and add some yellow to it later on to make some green. So when we make our next color, I'm gonna go ahead and paint over. I'll put those back on, his antenna. When we make our next color, you wanna rinse your brush really well because we're gonna use just yellow and white, and then we'll come back for the green. Make sure you get all of those little dots filled in so that you don't see any white dots coming through your blue. If you see the white dots, it just means you need a little bit more paint on your paintbrush. All right, that looks good. I'm gonna rinse really well both of my brushes. Okay, make sure all that blue paint is out. Get the water out, tap it, make sure it looks clean. And we're gonna take about a half scoop of white and a whole scoop of yellow. We want this to be a pretty bright yellow. Okay, you could use straight yellow if you want to. It's a little bit streaky, and this makes it just go on a little bit smoother when you have a little bit of white in there. But if you want it even brighter, you can use just straight yellow. All right, I'm going to do the center of the flower and the sun with this color. So if you're using a big brush, you actually could just twist it around one corner and it makes a really nice circle. Oops, looks like I have a little bit of blue in my brush, so I'm just gonna take that off. Just paint over a little bit. Okay, and then also the sun. You can use your little brush to go around the sunglasses if you want to. As long as you can see the line, if you paint into the sunglasses a little bit, don't worry about it because those are black. So you'll be able to redraw those with the black paint as long as you can see the stencil. Also guys, be careful when you're next to the blue. You may want to give it a minute to dry. Just hit stop and let your blue dry if it's really thick anywhere, because you don't want to run the yellow into the blue, or what will we get, guys? Green. And we don't really want a green sun, so. My blue is close to dry, and I'm just being really careful around the edges. Also, you can use your little brush. All right, see how I just painted over the sunglasses there, but I can still see the line, so it'll be fine. Oop, I got a little blue. All right, we're gonna put some orange highlights around the edge, so I'm not gonna worry too much about that. Okay. Let's see, I'm gonna rinse. Actually, you don't need to rinse your brush. I just wanna rinse it because I picked up a little bit of blue, so I wanna clean it off. As long as you just have yellow in your brush, you should be fine. All right. Take a tiny tip of red, not much. We can always add more. Add it to your yellow. This is gonna be an orange. Notice how I'm leaving some of my yellow plain because I may want to go back to it, or I may just add that yellow into my blue, but I do need a little bit of orange, so I'm gonna pull that in. I'm gonna get just a tiny bit more red to darken it up. You can add red just little bits at a time. If you add too much and it turns kind of peachy, just pull some more yellow in. So you get back to orange. All right, and what we're gonna do with this color is put it in the outside of the flower first, so the petals of the flower. And again, you want to be careful when you're right up against that blue. I see that there's a little spot of wet paint right there, so I'm just going to come back to that part. Just curved petals. Right up to the center, that yellow center. Okay, I think I picked up a little blue. I'm going to finish that off with a little bit of just using my little brush. That gives me a little more control up at the edges. All right. So that's the first color, orange. We're going to make a little bit darker orange to outline the flower and also to put some highlights on the sun. One more thing, you may not need to do this, but I actually got a little orange in the center of my flower, so I'm just going to put a little bit of yellow right over top. All right, ready? I'm going to put some of this yellow into my blue, and I'm going to make green. So blue is pretty strong. I'm going to take a little off to the side. Then I'm going to bring all this yellow over so I get a green. If you don't have any extra left over, take a big scoop of yellow, about 1/4 to 1/2 scoop of blue, and a little bit of white. All right, let's fill in our caterpillar first. And I like to do this in a circular motion because his little body segments are circular. So I'm going to fill them in a circular fashion. And if you go over your blue, you should be okay because this has white in it, so this color, so it actually will cover over the blue. You can see it covering right there. And same right here, I'm just going to draw a new circle. It seems like I painted into his body a little bit with the blue, so I'm just going to recreate that circle. And same with the head. I think I cut off the top of his head, so just draw a new circle there. See how the green went right over top of the blue because it has the white in it? Okay. Just touch him up a little bit on the edges. All right, great. And now I'm going to go ahead and fill in the petals. No, the leaves. What am I saying? And the stem. Here again, if you covered over some of the leaves or you want to redraw them, like let's say I want to make this one a little pointier, just go right over the blue. If you need to redraw these totally, it's kind of a big smile and then a V in the center. That's where the stem's coming up, okay? And the stem comes up towards the petals. It's behind the petals, so you don't see much of it when it gets up to the flower, but you want to put a little bit of green right there between the petals so that you can see the petals are in front of the stem. Okay, I'm going to add a little more of this blue into my green to darken it up. Depending on how light your blue is, you may need to add straight blue instead of some of that blue plus white. Can you guys see the difference? This is the dark green and that's the light green. Okay, so with the dark green, I'm just gonna add some grass. And what I'm gonna do is put my little brush at the bottom of the canvas and I'm just gonna pull up. You can make grasses going in any direction and you just want a few here and there. But start at the bottom, bring them up. And then maybe put some shorter pieces. Okay, and go back to your light green, add some light green ones. Okay, a little bit here and there. I think that's good. All right, I'm going to add a little more red to this orange, so let's rinse our little brush. We don't need a lot of red, so let's keep using our little brush. I'm just gonna take a little bit of red into this orange. I might need to add some more yellow too. I don't have much orange left on my plate and I want to get kind of a red orange so it's darker than what I had before. So you could even, if you don't have any of that orange left, just mix about a scoop of yellow and a 1/2 scoop of red. Don't even bother with the white. All right, now I may not, if you look at the example, you can see it's not a full outline. So this petal is basically fully outlined. This one really isn't. So I'm just gonna go around. I'm gonna use this orange to sort of separate the petals where they come together and basically just as an outline. So it doesn't need to be a full outline. I'm just gonna go around some of these petals, come in a little bit. If it's not dark enough, you may wanna add a little more red. I actually might add some of that, the orange with the white in it up there. All right, I got a little blue in there. Let me fix that with some extra red. All right, I see a little bit of blue. It's okay. Let me rinse that out. Got too much blue in there. You may need to be a little more patient than I am and let your blue dry completely so you don't keep picking it up into the yellow. All right, and we do need some of this orange for the sun. So I'm going to put a little more yellow in there and a little more red so that I have some more to use. And same thing with the sun. It doesn't have to be a complete outline, but I am gonna go around most of real light touch. Remember to re-dip in your paint, so you only have to do this once. And you're just crisping up the edges. More blue. All right, and one more thing is a circle around those sunglasses. All right, so you can draw the letter C and then close it. All right, and now I'm going to rinse my brushes. We're gonna use black. I'm gonna need to dry this, guys, because it's really wet. Like the yellow part's wet, and I need to put a face on the flower and I need to put a face on the sun, so I'm gonna dry this. You can just let it wait, let it sit for a minute. Okay, much better. All right, we are going to use black. So I'm going to take my little brush out of the water. I want to make sure it's dry, so I'm actually going to squeeze it a little bit just to make sure it's really dry. And when I go to the black, I'm going to roll it so that I get a nice point for drawing. So as you're coming out of the paint, roll it, and you should have a nice point. Okay, so first I'm going to give the sunshine his smile. Real light pressure for a thin line. Then I'm gonna fill in, let me get my black paint. Fill in the sunglasses. There's a little notch where they're going sort of around his head, so to speak. Fill these guys in. And again, remember, if you can just see the lines behind the yellow, you can paint right over the yellow once it's dry. All right, so he's looking good. All right, I'm gonna turn the brush around. I'm gonna dip it in the black. These are gonna be the eyes for the flower. You probably can get two, but I'm going to just touch the canvas and twist just a little bit. That's gonna be the eyes. And I'm gonna do that for the left eye on the caterpillar too. His eye's a little bit oval, so you can kind of draw that with the back of the brush if you want to. I'm gonna make these a little bigger. All right, let me wipe that off so we can draw the rest of their face. Okay. All right, so caterpillar, he's got a little half circle eye because he's winking at us. So his half circle eye. And then he's got two eyebrows kind of off to the side, real light pressure, and he's smiling. Okay, now let's work on those antennae. You're gonna come up and curl around. So come up and curl around in a circle. Two, they're on the top of his head, but they're not coming out of the same space. There's a little space in between. You can kind of think about it as like an upside down little E, if you want. All right, now the mouth. We're gonna do a little smile and then a bigger smile, okay? And I think, go ahead and fill the whole thing in. We'll put the tongue over top. Big smile. Okay, let's rinse our brush. We're gonna do some of those white highlights while we let that dry, and we'll come back. The tongue will be the last thing we put on. So I'm going to rinse my brush really well because we're switching to white. Okay, let's draw those swirls. These are sort of clouds in the sky. And if you notice it's that little lowercase e, so let's draw that lowercase e with a tail on it. And then you're gonna do a backwards lowercase e. And that's basically how you build your cloud. So it's an E, might put backwards E here. If you want to take your finger and just rub it around, you could do that in little circles. Let's see. All right, and now we're going to add to the curvy parts of our caterpillar and kind of to separate the sections. You can add some white highlights to his little sections. And you can add some white highlights to the petal. You're basically just following the shape of the petals. And then same thing, or sorry, leaves. And then same thing with the petals. You're just gonna add some here and there. You're just trying to show the curve with this. You can also add those little dots. When you add the dots, you're gonna use the back of the brush just like we did for the eyes. So you can add 3 dots in a couple places, like 1, 2, 3. They will take a little extra time to dry because they're thicker. Maybe add 1 dot here on him. The caterpillar's got a couple dots. It's just part of the highlight. Okay. All right, I think we're ready to mix the pink for the tongue. Wait a minute, I'm gonna do one more. Okay. So I'm gonna wipe off the back of the brush and rinse. Actually, I don't need to rinse because I just have white in it. I'm just gonna add a little pink, excuse me, a little red to make pink. I don't think my black is dry. So I'm just gonna draw it here. It's gonna be at the very top of the mouth, and you're just gonna make a big U. This is the top of the mouth, like right here. You're just gonna make a big U coming down and fill it in. And then if you wanna put a little white highlight on it, you could, but that's all you're gonna do with the pink. I'll try to draw it on here, but I think the black is still a little wet. You can go outside the mouth. And then I'm just gonna put like 2 little white dots on it, and that'll be that. Okay, I think we're all set. If you want to stop the video and then get ready to do the butterfly on the milkweed, we'll post a second video for that. Thanks so much for painting with us today.